dragon is dead. Well, the Steam Deck isn't the best traveling machine, but what do we have on options, right? The thing is that it's not ergonomic, it's way too big, and it's way too. I'm traveling, I really want to play a game, so I have to stick up to basically the Steam Deck. So, it should be Dragon is Dead the credit that I not only brought it into the train this entire week, but I was flying, I was using, and I was playing. All of extra inconveniences were weathered so I could keep playing Dragon is Dead. Dance of Mix like hem. Well, that's my impression, right? So for me, basically Diablo, Dead Cells, along a sprinkle of the Blasphemous Castlevania, set into the roguelike world where demons have erupted from the ribs. You play as the successor. Things only get more complicated and entertaining from there. As in the classic rogue styles, you have to face off against waves of enemies in variety of levels culminating in a boss fight after each section. These bosses can really test your skills, and if you are not built up a good enough loadout from the upgrades during your run, they can be really difficult. I've regularly died against a boss on my first attempt while I was learning that moveset, and while this can originally seem overwhelming, you eventually get into the swing of it, knowing when to dodge and when to attack. That's the case of the most games, really. It starts off very overwhelming. There are different stats of max life damage, almost, and you expect, but you also have a strength, adds, and stats rather than damage, vitality, intelligence, and dexterity. Each piece of equipment gets an armor or damage rating as well as being 3 different additional buffs. Where this starts to get really complicated, and it's when you're faced with the choice between, for example, max life or vitality, and in turn effect, some of you other stats as well. There is a glossary of the swords, but well, actually, you'll see the thing is that overall, it's more about the feel of the character build, and you can definitely see yourself stronger as you play. This incredible feel is what the best games have. Be it the movement of Mario, the world of Skyrim, or Music Journey, there is just something that clicks. The gameplay loop of Dragon is that is similar. Speaking of the writing, let's get into the our way. This is far the weakest aspect of the game. So, while the world building itself is interesting enough, with a good and evil, double agents, grief stricken kinds, and of course dragons, the writing just can keep it up the subject matter. Lots of clunky and confusing exposition, grammar errors, dense and dry language, and even just plain old sleeping mistakes make it difficult to get through sometimes. Some of the genre staples are also messed around with some for a reason, with mana, no, for example, being replaced by resources. I spent a good 2 runs being confused that my gold wasn't decreasing, but the game kept telling me that my resources were low before I figured it out. This all speaks a learning curve that you have to stick out in the order to really get into the better and more exciting aspects of Dragon is that. It's all worth in the end. Just know you have to do some of your own legwork to keep your feet under you here. The upgrade system can also be daunting at the first glance, with the words such as mastery skill, core skill, and assistant skill being thrown around. Basically, each group of the skills has word associated with it from basics to the ultimate, and you just need to remember what each means. Some skills have synergy with other skills from the certain set, while others will be synergizing with the element of which we are your classic fire and ice and lightning. Synergy is the name of the game when it comes to the Dragon is Dead, with one of my favorite mechanics in the game being built around it. You see, as you progress at the levels, you pick artifacts, similar for the Hades blessings, which will certain offer upgrades. However, they always have 2 different synergy groups they attach to. If you get a certain amount of artifacts with those synergies, then you unlock more upgrades. You can have 9 artifacts at any time, on time. So what 18 potential synergies you can have. Let me tell you, this all adds up quickly. By the end of the game, I felt like a god, raining lightning and fire from the heavens, stunning, exploring, and freezing anything in his sight. Of course, this isn't where the synergies stop. Legendary weapons are also specific skills elementary that synergies with my favorite being Dancing Flame, which changed my basic fire into a 3-point destruction machine. After combining the Celestial Armor, which increased max life, and putting other points in the attack speed and lighting bonuses, I could stand in the middle of the most bosses and just their health fall. Watching the glorious colors and full of the first bosses and having struggled with them in early game really is satisfying. The first boss who I originally had jumped around between is leads to the main, keeping other enemies at bay and barely scrapping through. Just falls of my weapons now with a smile playing on my game's face the whole time. So basically, it's time to get a move on. One every year I wish could be upgraded slightly more would be dash ability. It doesn't really change from day one. You can gain damage, boosted your dash, or even ability itself can be upgraded, which is unfortunate as I'd have to love have forgotten to the point I was flying throughout the air, raining fiery death of my enemies. I did just love the animation of the dash ability, with you living on a train of animation, spark shadows in your path which each use. Actually, all the animations are really well crafted, with a clear attack animation telegraphing. The animation that signal the beginning of this boss fights and the glory, glory, glory showcase that treat of the enemy like a god and soul-like. My favorite is probably Tormentor, a giant spider that suddenly appears in the front of the crawling injured soldier, suddenly ripping it in two. Pixel blood pulls around, showing just what you about to face. Once you get the hang of it, you really feel like someone is stone's folk can count on to rescue them for the monsters. Dodging attacks just as they fell to maximize my invisibility frames, understanding all the various status effects to stop a monster in their track, and watching that HP just fall away felt great once I progressed enough throughout the time. The graphics overall are really nice, with a blasphemous Esquire watercolor style pixel art. My only real complaint is some of the platforms and NPCs can mix into the background a bit, making it unclear where you can go and who you can speak to all the time. But this is really a nitpick. The music is great, albeit quite limited. The orchestration with the haunting strings instrumental a steady at pace really sets the mood, but there is no evolution as you go further in your journey. It's most just the only melody on repeat. Every time I thought seeing everything in the game, new system was added. Be it salvaging legendary equipment to the turn into the other tools, a new character showing up at the camp, or a new essence that turns the entire power levels of their head near the game on the end. Dragon is that makes things up plenty. The game just kept surprising me, you know? While sometimes it felt like it was intentionally holding things back to make it so I could win on that specific run, I always wanted to jump straight back into the next one regardless. Well, in overall, I really enjoyed the 20 hours for a Dragon is Dead. Maybe I don't know. I actually was on the flight, so maybe it was 8 hours. With more chapters, characters, equipment, and difficulty promises with the first version, I'm looking forward to continue my adventure. If they can sort writing out, then this game could rival great roguelikes like the Hades, Dead Cells, and thanks to such addictive gameplay loop. If you feel like you are going to bounce off the game, the first couple of hours, I beg you to keep going. It should all click eventually, and the extra effort is worth it. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Peace, you guys.